Hello friends, welcome to SQL Server tutorial. In this video, we are going to see how to create a table on a test schema. So we created a test schema in our previous video, and this time when we are creating the database object, here is table, we will create that database object inside the test schema. So here is the flow. First we will go to our database, then from the table node we will invoke new table. After that we will define the column names. While defining the column name, we will specify the data type. Then we will say a specific column allows null or not. Then through the properties, we can assign the schema to the table that we are creating. Also, we can assign the file group. Here, if you see, we can choose a file group as group 1. So this one also we created in the previous SQL Server series. And finally, we can view our table definition in the SQL Server Management Studio. We will also see how to create the TSQL script using the SQL Server Management Studio. Now let's go to the demo. Here we connected to the SQL Server instance, and CE-Tube is the database which we created in the previous SQL Server series. Now we will expand CE-Tube and right click on the table, and we will choose a new table. Here we will choose column name as employee ID and data type as small int. It doesn't allow null. Then here in the bottom you can see column properties. So under identity specification we say yes. So this identity tells whether the column value needs to be auto-generated or not. So by turning this flag to yes, we are stating that auto-generate small int for this employee ID, and seed is 1, that means start from number 1. After that, for each record insert, increment the value by 1. So that means first time the value will be 1, second time it will be 2, third time it will be 3. Suppose if you delete second record, then the IDs will be 1 and 3, and if you insert a new record, you will be getting 4, not the 2. So because here the identity column will always increment from the last generated one. Let's generate other columns also. Full name of the employee. We will come to column data type later. So I'm clicking outside and going for the third column. Country code, and let's go with the date of birth. At present our table contains 4 columns, and we will change the data types now. Here we will choose varchar 25. That means we will allow 25 characters for full name. Then for country code we are choosing character of 2. So here fixing the length. So country code will be always 2 character length, whether you are using 1 digit or 1 character letter or 2 character letter. And we will keep employee ID, full name, DOB as not null field. Here country code we will allow null by placing the check mark here. And DOB, if you see here, it is nchar. We can choose date for this one. So simply type D, it will auto filter and we will choose date. So in the data type discussion, we discussed only the frequently used data types. But if you see here, these are all the data types supported by the SQL Server. So if you want to know what each data type and if you want to know its specification, you can refer the Microsoft documentation for SQL Server. Alright, columns are defined, data type is defined, and null or not null, that's also defined here. Now we will invoke the property window for this table. If you see here, SQL Server Management Studio provided a default name table_1. Later we will change this. For now we will keep table_1. Here we will choose property window table1 schema. If you see, by default whatever table you create, that goes to DBO schema, and we can change the schema to test. So this schema was created by us in our previous video, right? And here if you see, data space specification, file group, we can choose. By default it is group 1, and if you see, we have 2 file group, right? One is primary and another one is group. If you want to change it to primary, you can change it as primary, but here we are choosing group 1. So the table will be created on this file group. We know that group 1 belongs to the NDF file or the secondary data file. You can watch our previous video in that we created this group 1. Now we assigned the schema for this table. Schema is test and file group is group 1. Now here if you click save all, it will ask you to enter a file name. So the default name here is table_1. Now we can choose table name as employee. So click OK. This will create the table. Now we created with the table, we can close this window. We can close the property window as well. Here table name is not yet listed, right? So right click and choose refresh. And if you see here, the table name is displayed. Table name is employee, schema name is test. So that's why the table name here is displayed as test.employee. And if you expand here, you can see all the column names: employee ID, full name, country code, date of birth. Here you can see the data types as well as whether a specific column allow null or not. So by looking at the definition here, we can say country code column allows null and all 3 other columns are mandatory. Now we can also generate a TSQL script for this. So here I'm choosing script table as create to new query editor window, and you can see the query here, create table test.employee, and there are all the columns. So using TSQL also you can create the table. Say for example here I am choosing employee temp because I'm going to delete this. So these are all some of the SQL Server settings. It's always good to keep this setting and execute, but the heart here is create table. So create table, schema name, table name. Here all the column names are defined. Then data type. After that null or not null. And here if you see employee ID is identity, seed and step. Alright, once you execute, this will also generate a table. And you can see test.employee temp. So we will delete this. So in SQL Server, at any stage you can generate the TSQL script, and that way you can learn the SQL script as well. I mean the TSQL script as well. So just now you saw the demo of how to create a table. Thank you.